So you want to be a champion?
Plays left on the set. It goes to Cleary. Nathan Cleary! Wow! Cleary's done it all himself. What a try!
Well, he had to stand up, and he's just elevated himself from a champion. They were gone. They were absolutely gone with 20 minutes to go.
He has willed Penrith back into this.
He found space back on the inside. Harvey Norman replay. He just kept searching for a tired defender. And Nathan Cleary.
Welcome back, ladies and gents, to another episode of the Supercoach Tragics podcast. You might be fooled to think that there might be the Off the Bench podcast. We've got two Off the Bench boys with us tonight. So, what did you guys think of the new intro? I thought bit of I know Tim Yeo wouldn't appreciate it. That was the last play in the grand final last year. So I made it especially for you, mate.
Still too soon, Dan. Still too soon.
I don't think the Broncos supporters are ever going to get over that, mate.
We're still holding on to 2015 too, just quietly.
Oh, mate.
Hey, listen, mate. All I can say to you guys is, at least it hasn't been 20 years nearly since you've been in a grand final or any final of any description. It's funny because I was going through in the hallway today and going through my I've got some laminated frames and that there. I've got two Tigers signed jerseys, but I've also got a framed one from when we won the premiership in 2005 with some photos and the scores and that on it. And I actually got my grand final ticket because I went to the game mounted inside the frame too. And I looked at it, I'm like, holy hell, this is nearly 20 years ago. Shit.
That was when dinosaurs roamed the earth, wasn't it?
Oh, here we go.
Back when Noah was a lad.
Wasn't Benny Elias playing back then?
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Oh, jeez.
All right, well, we better get some structure going on here. So, as we mentioned, we've got the Off the Bench boys. So tonight, Timmy O, mate, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us, boys. It's Dan, I should say. I see Ross all the time. Always good to get back on and talk with the Tragics lads.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you. Like you guys, pumping out 2 pods a week minimum, and then you're still happy to jump on and help us out when we need to. So I love that. Also, great Roscoe, mate. Mate, how was your week?
Yeah, evening. Yeah, look, I got 11:37, which is not bad. I captained Hines, which is good. But I had about 6 scores under 40, I think it was, including Ponga's beautiful 13.
He upgraded to 14, mate. Don't be sorry.
Sorry, my bad. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'm not happy with that. So I've gone from 72K to 18K, I think it is, in the last 4 weeks. So I'm in the right direction. I'm pretty happy with my team at the moment, and we'll see what happens. But just while we're on it too, I just obviously want to pass our regards, obviously, to Dan. I know this is your pod, sorry, but in regards to Terry Hill. Obviously, we heard the tragic news today that he did pass away. Thoughts go out to the family and that. So, just another one gone too young at only 52.
That's crazy, man. I remember I spoke to you guys before the pod. I remember meeting him a long time ago when he came down to one of our footy training sessions when I was playing for Batemans Bay. And, it was good. Bloody legend of a bloke. And sucks that these things happen so young. So,
yeah.
Timmy, mate, how did you score this week?
Broncos. I've been playing awesome. Love those Broncos. They're great. No, I had I think it was 10:41, mate. I'm kind of the opposite to Roscoe. He's talking about having 6 scores under 40. My squad's sensational. Unfortunately, I captained KP, and it absolutely ruined me. Basically, if I captained anybody else, I would have been late 1100s, early 12, something like that. So I think my next lowest score, I think I had 1 score of 40 something, and the rest were late 50s and 60s plus. So pretty much captained anybody else but KP, and I would have killed it. So it was a little bit disappointing, but that's the way it goes sometimes. Unfortunately, I still had a green arrow, but just not as far up as I wanted to. But I'm still trying to get back to 400 odd points that I lost a couple of weeks ago. Outside of that, I've had big greens every round.
Yes, I'm guessing the young fella's still grounded until you get it up to the ranks
Oh,
again.
mate, don't start me. Don't start me. Still too soon.
It's frustrating though because all week we didn't know what was happening with Ponga, and then I think it was Friday we found out he's fit to play, he's going to goal kick, and then I think before the game or at half time they interviewed him, and he goes,
Before
"I'll be
the
happy
game.
if I just make it through till half time."
Yeah, it's before the game. It was before the game. He had the
Yeah.
little press, and they said he needled up, and it was
Yeah.
just. As soon as I saw that, I was like, I'm glad I changed my captain to Turbo, but still not ideal having him on the team at all.
And that's the frustrating part, because if you miss those little bits, like had I heard that before kickoff, I absolutely would have jumped off. And just, it's the way it goes.
And that's
and
it.
Such is life. My alternative was the plan was to go Ronaldo because I'd already VC'd SJ. So, obviously didn't go quite as big as Hines, but had I captained Ronaldo instead of KP, totally different story.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I try to avoid dwelling on last week's sorrows, but I got a 10.55, pretty average as well. I think just having Ponga on my team bloody hurt. But I had a few. I played all the right players. The team that I've got just didn't perform. A lot of players like I think Schiller, all those boys that I probably should have not played, but
Schiller and Smithies and all that.
Yeah, bit upsetting there, but nothing I can do about it. Still, I didn't go up in the ranks, didn't go down in the ranks. I stayed pretty flat, so I'm still around the 8,000 mark, which is not too bad. That's all you know. You guys know me.
I think I had 4 players or 5 players from Canberra in that game, and I think they scored me a total of about, I think it was 120 points or something.
You get one play from the last game and outscore all of them. So
yeah, well, that was funny because I went into that last game and I was only on 741, and I scored like 400 points in the last game.
Love it. Alrighty, let's get started, guys. I was gonna go do the overall leaders again, but there's no point because still up in front. I gotta remember Dead Hand Gang still up front there, ranked 33rd overall. But I will say we have been talking about it before. Amanda from Manhip is literally only 4 points behind him now. 4 points.
She's coming. I think she's coming 2nd or 3rd overall in our one as well.
Yeah, looking really good there. So, but I think it is a 2-horse race at the moment. We're at round 8 now, so I think after this one, I think they're drifting apart. They're out 150 points above the rest, so looking pretty good. Alrighty, let's talk game 1, boys. We've got Warriors up against the Titans. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. SJ, do we see another history repeating itself with Ponga, with the injury concerns?
God, I hope not, because I'm holding SJ.
I'm captaining.
Well, I had the VC on him last week. I think I'll have the VC on him this week. So, it's going to be a tough watch. But it'll be the same thing. I'll be watching like a hawk. If there's any chat about him not performing or not being able to hit his straps throughout the game, then I'll definitely be jumping off.
Yeah. Would you? One thing I was thinking about doing potentially was to, if that was the case and he does look like he does, you get one of those interviews of the game like Ponga had last week, and you see that. Would you trade to Cleary, or is it still a week too early? You think?
No, I'll be going to Cleary. If SJ's not right, I'll be going to Cleary. I think they're both BE is 80 and 81 or something like that between the two of them. So
very similar.
It's so basically if they reckon Nathan's 100% fit, then and if SJ's not, then I'd be jumping off one and jumping onto the other. So I think they've both got, especially this round, I think they're both just as likely to go as big as they are go small and ugly. So I just think for this round in particular, it's probably not worth the trade, which is why I'm holding and planning on going SJ to Cleary next week if Cleary performs well enough.
Yeah, love it. We've got Cape Oil out, so we see a fresh name on the starting lineup here. We've got Jacob Laban. I can't pronounce that correctly. Do you know how long he's out for?
I know he played off the bench, I think, a couple of games already. Don't know too much about him. So I said he's come off bench a couple of games, but starting this one. But administering, obviously not a buy, because obviously Cape Oil's only out 1 week from what they were saying. So you definitely couldn't buy him.
Yeah, Yeah, so Capel, I think from memory, has a throat injury. So yeah, that can be. Well, I've seen throat injuries go for ages. So, but I don't know how severe it is. So hopefully they're just playing cautious there.
But there is some good options for this game though too for Supercoach.
We're looking at replacing Ponga in an option there. So in this one, we have a lot of people talking about getting, say, a Walsh, or they're going to get a Turbo if they haven't got him already, or even Teddy, and the big four really. But not much talk going too much around Nickel Klostak there. Roscoe, what are your thoughts here, mate?
Yeah, look, I think we did speak about this off air before we started. I like both. I like Walsh and CNK. I think they're both good options. I think CNK's obviously got the better base in him, whereas we know Walsh can put out a 20. But we also know Walsh can put out 120, like in the click. He could be on like 13 at half time and then finish off on it over 100. However, saying that with Walsh, he probably most likely loses the goal kicking this week as well, which will obviously cost him some points. So he got 110 last week with 2 tries, and 18 of those were in goals as well. So, as you said, Tim, it's not ideally great. But he could goal kick. We don't know. That's the problem. And we won't know until after the Warriors game's played. So it makes your choice a little bit hard. You're going to have to make a decision on what you're going to do. And both have got good draws coming up too, I've got to say. But I just think with Walsh, with Haas back and Adam Reynolds back, I just think that he's going to get a lot more good ball. He'll be sniffing around the forwards looking for those offloads. But look, I like both, but I'm probably going to go for Walsh at this stage, but I'm still umming and ahhing with it, Dan.
I know you're in this boat, Timmy, mate. You're thinking about CNK pretty hard there. What are the positives about CNK that you think you might be looking at?
I just think his floor is much higher than Reece Walsh's. CNK's scoring really well without getting the attacking stats, whereas Reece Walsh scores 2 tries, kicks 18 points in goals, and only got to 110. So I think, I don't know, the brain's sort of saying with the draw that the Warriors have got, so they got the Titans this week, they've got Newcastle next week. That's Newcastle without KP. Then they've got the Roosters. Let's be honest, the Roosters, I think they're on the up and up, but there's still something not quite right there. They're still not quite clicking. Panthers in round 11. So, look, they've probably got 2 to 3 decent matchups where I think that those Warriors outside backs can go really well. A lot of people jumped on CNK and also DWZ last week. I obviously jumped on SJ last week, and this is my logic that I've jumped on SJ for a reason, and that was for this particular run of games. So if he's not fighting fit, then I'll be jumping off. But if it's a 50-50 shot, then I'm staying and quite possibly going CNK over Reece Walsh this round. What's the price difference? I haven't got CNK back up on my screen because I've already got Walsh in my team.
I think it's about 100K or something, roughly. I think it's 616 for Walsh and about 726 for CNK.
Yeah, 724 right? 724.
Yeah, so it's just over 100K.
Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty hefty. I know we're talking about the Warriors here, but I'm leaning towards Walsh just for the fact that there's a few players from that Broncos team out at the moment who do take a lot of, I guess, those hard hit-ups and those flary kind of runs, and that's Cobbo and Ezra. And I think it's going to all be down to a mixture of A-Ray and Walsh now to get those points. So I think there's less points to share around. And obviously we mentioned earlier that Payne Haas back as well would really, really help that middle of the Broncos give Walsh some room. So, but yeah. All right.
Just really quick, I hadn't actually looked at. So on our show, Dan, I like to look a little bit more long term. So look, to go with the Broncos draw. So they've got the Tigers, Roosters, Para, Manly, Gold Coast, and then the bye. So that's basically their next 6 rounds. Of those 6 rounds, well, sorry, mate, let's look at that. The next 6 actual games, 4 of 6 are at Suncorp. So 4 of the next 6 games for the Broncos are at Suncorp. That's probably the thing that goes in his favour. Obviously, one of those games will be the away game against Manly in Magic Round. but it's still
God,
it's still at Suncorp.
you guys are rotting the system with every single year with that crap.
Us
Yeah,
and the
unbelievable.
Titans and the Cowboys, and let's be honest, Suncorp Stadium's a home game for the Warriors as well. After being here for 3 years, Broncos play Warriors. There's just about more Warriors fans in the stadium than there are Broncos fans. So yeah, look, it's
Well, we've got
I think there's a few teams now that like to call Suncorp home.
Well, Panthers are taking another game away starting next year as well. They're taking another because they do the Bathurst one every year, which they did last year. They're adding another game to Mudgee next year as well, moving forward. So Panthers are kind of going other way. They want to try and spread the love into the regions there. So
The only last thing I'll say on this Walsh versus CNK debacle is Walsh is most likely going to be a sell come Origin. He won't be a hold through. Whereas CNK, you could probably hold him through, and he at least plays one of the major buyers in round 16. So that's another thing to take into account as well. But the Warriors do have a tough run from round 10. They've got the Roosters, Panthers, Dolphins, and the Cowboys, and Melbourne. So ideally, it's not great, but he does average well against a couple of those teams.
I think I'll stick to. So I'm happy to play fullback roulette all year, and I'm always done that all the time. So I don't mind. I'm not going to think about the buys when it comes to my fullbacks because I'll think about that when it comes to the buys. But yeah, all good. And no need to really mention, but AFB there looking pretty juicy as well, continuing his form. Could do all right. I'm not sure about this game. I'm thinking it might be a bit lower score for him this week. I think they're going to spread to the wings a bit more and try and get past those wingers. So he might get a bit less base, I think. But you never know. He's very high possible to score another try. So let's look at the Titans now. Really, Fafita starting again. For those on Spotify, saw my little air bunnies. So that was I don't see that happening again. If I knew he was starting, mate, I'd be all over that. You know, I mentioned before the pod, I can bring him in this week quite comfortably. However, I just don't like his minutes, and I know it's a bit weird because he's still getting decent scores. But last week he got a try, and a try that was a big scoring try. Like it was a 2 tackle bust, a line break, and a try, which is about 36 points, and he still got 85 points or whatever he got. And the weeks before that, he's been getting the 60 minutes and getting about 55 points, which is, don't get me wrong, a great output for a second rower. But I'm not paying top dollar for someone like that unless he's starting. And if he starts and they find out he's starting, I will make that trade, no questions asked. But at the moment, I'm staying away.
It's a good thing it's the first game, Dan, so you can make a decision early anyway.
Yeah, that's right. So, but I've got that spare trade locked and loaded, ready to go for that one. And I mentioned before, I got quite a lot of bankroll, so I got about 600k in the bank, so I can literally trade Talangi to Fafita via Jules. So nice little upgrade there. All right. Anyone else? Is anyone really standing out at the Titans, guys? Or should we just move on to the next game?
Maybe once you start scoring a better, maybe AJ Brimson's the only other one you could potentially look at, but. You wouldn't have him at fullback. You'd probably get him at centre wing, but even then he's expensive. So you'd have to wait for him to drop in price first before you look at him. But, you know, if he drops to the right price and he stays at fullback, if he gets under 500k, he could be an option if they start hitting some form.
He's got a proven track record of getting Supercoach points from fullback. So definitely someone to keep an eye on for sure.
The only other ones then would obviously be Firma as an alternative in second row, but you got to get him at the right time, and maybe once he hits a little bit more form, and maybe someone like Cam Pereira out on the wing. But I mean, Titans scored plenty of points last week, but they also let in plenty of points. So if it's okay if they're going to score, then guys like Lockie, Cam Pereira, he should do all right across a longer period of games as long as they've got the right run coming up. So yeah, there's outside of that, there's really not much else in there.
Yeah. One thing I said about Firma, I mean, he started off a bit slow, Firma. However, I think since Fafita's been back, his base has improved. I think he's actually getting more involved in the defense. He got bugger all last week, got like 50 points around there, 49 points. So to me, that means Firma's. I've had him on my team for all season. I'm not in the rush to sell him. He's going to be like getting decent. But I think the fact that there's now Fafita's back, they've got Cleese kind of doing some work there as well, and they've got other back rows. I think he's kind of fighting for that spot, Firma. I know he's kind of his spot, but I think he feels like he has to earn it. So I think there's been a bit more work ethic coming from Firma, and it's actually getting some more base points, which is good.
Yep, I agree.
Brian Kelly's been pretty solid too, but again, he's probably a bit expensive at the moment. But it could be one to keep an eye on if he, But I probably couldn't go near AKP though. It's just got no floor in him. Just doesn't know.
He's a high ceiling winger, but he's like AJ or any of those other sorts of guys. You've got to get him at the right time once they start a run.
Yeah.
And when do they play Tigers?
Thanks, man. Good on you. You guys only put 22 points on us. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but it should have been more.
All
those penalties that you didn't get.
And then Snyder should have been sin bin, but that's another story.
Yeah, but you shouldn't have scored that try in the first place.
No, would you two ladies stop it already?
That was a penalty last week, but not this week. So don't get me wrong, I don't think it was a penalty. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it should be a penalty at all, but it was a penalty last week. So
it's frozen, boys. Let it go.
Hey, all I got to say is penalty Broncos.
All right, let's talk about the Dragons and the Roosters. We've got I'll tell you one thing who really impressed me defensively was Christian Tuipulotu last week was making some really good defensive moves. Actually, it was pissing me off because I was hoping my winger would get past him, but he was doing really well in defence there. What are your thoughts there?
Well, he's only played one game, hasn't he?
Yeah, I'd want to see if he's going to stay in the side for 3 or get named for 3 consecutive weeks before I jump on.
Yeah, definitely.
Because what's the go? Because Rava's been ruled out. So is he injured or
dropped?
Do you know what goes with him?
I thought he was dropped.
I thought dropped for defensive reasons or something.
I don't know. I'm just asking. I've got no idea.
And it was dropped for defensive reasons, and that's why I thought that Tuipulotu made a really good case to get that spot with his defensive reasons. He defended really well. So, but no, it's definitely something to keep an eye out there. But then again, you can never count on Dragons they'll score big one week and then terrible the next week. So let's talk about
I like Lomax's matchup this week, Dan, too. Now he's back on the wing as well.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I think he's going to be up against Sawali this week too. So it'll be interesting.
Maybe a sneaky pod captain in there?
Maybe a vice captain. It's an early game in the round.
Yeah.
Probably couldn't captain him.
Maybe that's one of those things you can do when SJ has that pre-game interview. You don't want to vice captain him anymore. You can chuck the VC on Lomax.
Yeah.
Good shout.
Really, Sully doing some pretty decent things as well. I think at his price as well. What's he around the 550 mark? I think so. Not a bad option there. Nice little shout there because he had a pretty good game. I think he got 84 points last week from memory. So I'm way off. He's only 466. And I'm pretty sure he got a nice little score last week. Whenever Silver's on, he's on. So I think I thought they challenge each other to do big hit ups and try to run holes. So someone I'll be looking out for as well. So 466 is a pretty good price to pay if you're looking to maybe offload one of those. If you can upgrade maybe a Talangi maybe potentially.
I don't know if I can own any Dragons players.
I'm on Lomax. I'm on Lomax, and I think if you were going someone different,
except for Lomax,
maybe you go a pod half in obviously Benny Hunt, or I don't mind Jaden.
You're not allowed to talk about Ben Hunt on this podcast because someone sold him.
I sold him to SJ last week.
Oh really? Oh damn! Ouch! That one's got to hurt.
It was like a 15-point difference. Really, it doesn't really bother me too much.
Yeah. No, I like Ben Hunt. I also like Jaden Sewer as a bit of a pod play in second row.
Yeah. Another one's Mariner too. Mariner's still holding that spot on the edge too. So he might be another one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I just get nervous. I just get nervous when they name him and move him, and it's like he's there to fill a hole. Whenever someone goes down, he just fills a hole all the time. Like and then like someone else will get named like and for some reason he's just the one that moves. They've even kept Tom Eisenhuth. There's a staple there in the one spot. There's like RFM's the guy that he's got the experience, so they can trust him to move anywhere they need and move to fill holes. I love Marin. I think he's a great super coach effort, but I just can't trust what's happening with his position.
He would have been a good one to start too. Eisenhuth, nice and cheap, and he had the dual position, second row, centre wing. But I think we all had the same thought that he was just not going to hold the spot. So let's not get on him. But he's definitely holding his hand up and making some decent cash.
Yeah, he started about 346. They're not the cheapest, but still like high end, cheapy, low end, mid ranger.
Yeah,
and he's gained 140,000 since the start.
Yeah, correct.
Pretty good effort. So
be able to upgrade him to a decent gun in a couple of weeks.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, sitting just under 500,000. So, alrighty. Any love for Jack DeBellin? He's coming off the bench, but he's doing some pretty good things every single week. There's just too many options in the front row now.
I have him in a couple of drafts. If I did get him, I'd probably get him in front row forward only. But I think at the moment that if I'm going to upgrade any of my front rowers, I want to be going to a Haas or an AFB. You know what I mean? So I think he's a solid option. He still plays similar minutes whether he starts or comes off the bench. It doesn't make any difference. So, but yeah, he's certainly been good for me in drafts, putting out 60s most weeks as well. But I think I'd have to find that extra cash and get an AFB or Haas instead, which I'll probably look at doing potentially either AFB just before round 13 or just after Origin.
Yeah, I like it. I think you touched on the head. I think like there's a pod option. I hate podding up in front row. There's not enough ceiling that it really warrants a pod. And there's too many other options that are just genuine, like keepers for the rest of the year that you can bring in instead. So
front row forward's very mud this year, like 5/8 as well. Like it's very yuck. Like it really is. Like I mean, I'm running at the moment. I'm running May. I'm running Henry, Palasa, and Sam Hughes at the moment in my front row. So it's going to be mud for me this week having to play May and Liam Henry this week. That's for sure.
Sounds like fun.
Oh yeah.
I think you're right. The 5/8 and front row have been terrible this season. That's why I'm not too fussed about having Strange and Galvin in my 5/8 position.
Yeah, that's what I've got. That's what I'm running too, Dan.
Nothing's hurting me. Like there's no one getting big scores hurting me. So like there's no Munster standing up yet. Brown's done okay, but they're not really scaring me too much. So
Dillbags has got to do it eventually. Surely, he's too good.
Timmy, come on.
He got a junk
try. He got a junk try at the end last week. He would have finished on 30 points. I was so happy.
Yeah,
I was so happy about it. I'm just like, he's going to get 30 and then he fucking gets a junk try. I'm just like, oh my God.
I get it. And maybe I'm just too proud to trade him out. But when nothing else is really jumping out, and obviously the pedigree that Brown has got, he's super coach friendly, traditionally has been for a long time. It's got to come good eventually. Or is it just the fact that Moses normally takes enough pressure off him that he can just, I don't know, Moses runs the team and Dillbags just plays what's in front of him?
I think the problem is that I think, he was obviously, I thought with Moses out, he would be the better player. But then obviously Gutho steps up. But the problem is that Gutho's not 100%. We know that. His knees are stuffed. So it doesn't really help the cause. So obviously Gutho's relying on, Brown, is relying on Gutho a lot. And he's just not getting the service this year or anything like that. So Parramatta, unfortunately, in disarray this year. There's a couple of clubs like that now.
On that, I didn't get a chance to read the article, but there was something that came out today about what's his name with his bloody fullback and his knees, and
Gutho. That was just raw.
And saying that there's talk about maybe moving him into the halves to take the pressure off him, or something along those lines, to try and help his legs and his longevity in the game to take him out of fullback and maybe move him into Moses' spot. Like it's interesting. Obviously, you've got a player like Gutho in your ranks. You want to get your hands on the ball, want him to get his hands on the ball as much as obviously he possibly can. It's I don't know. I don't hate the idea. I'd be interested to see who they move into fullback. It'd be great if they put Tuolangi in there. I wouldn't be upset at that at all. But yeah, I don't know. They've definitely got to do something because they can't just keep doing the same thing that they've been doing with Parra. Otherwise, they'll end up as wooden spooners by the end of the year.
Well, he's playing fullback. He plays fullback in New South Wales Cup, Tuolangi, as well.
No, that's what I said.
You know, and it's interesting. We'll get to the Parra game later. That they picked Ethan Sanders in the halves this week, and he's just signed the contract with the Raiders.
Yep. That's why I wonder if it's a beat up about Gutho's legs.
If you want to take anything that Phil Rothfield writes take it as a grain of salt.
He's got more footballing media pedigree than I do, so I can't complain too much.
Yeah, I'll not that anyone's gonna watch this, but so he won't watch it, so he can't really sue us. But
we're not getting sued.
Let's move on, guys. So the Roosters, everyone's obviously selling Ponga. We've already talked about a few options here. Tedesco. No one's really talking about bringing in Tedesco. Is there any reason that you guys think?
Yeah, that would be because I had him and traded him to Ponga, and then traded Ponga to Teddy, and then Teddy back to Ponga. And now I'm getting rid of both of them. So, stuffed a lot of them. I think they're both going on my never again list.
So one of the golden rules is you don't play Supercoach with your heart. You're trading on a grudge, I guess. At a principle, you don't want to bring him back in. At a principle.
No. And then obviously he's going to go straight back out for Origin in 5 weeks' time or whatever. It's just not worth it.
Actually, talking about Teddy and Origin, there's a lot of talk that they reckon he might not get picked, but I don't believe it. Like, he's got to be there. He's the captain. He's not playing that bad this season, to be honest with you at all. God, I don't hate to play Dan. He's only 5% owned or something now, but I just think that there's better options with better draws. It's definitely a pod play if you do get him. No.
I'm also not a big fan of the Roosters at the moment. They're not consistent enough. And when they are consistent, Teddy's an option to have in your team because everything goes through him. Him and Kiri and even Sam Walker really hook up well together when they're on fire, but they just haven't been doing much. So it's just up and down. So one player that has been doing good.
Let's not talk about Dom Young because he's on my naughty boy list from about 3 weeks ago too. He's the one that essentially cost me my buddy 300 or 400 points.
He'll come in and turn up this week, and then we'll
guaranteed. Guaranteed. Now we've all jumped off.
Yeah, you can do that. No one owns anymore. I don't care. One player that has been doing quite well since getting that starting spot, Angus Crichton, sitting pretty nicely now, is just getting safe scores every single week, building up that cash flow. You guys on?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, another one I missed. I always miss the ones, but I don't think he's hurting me too much. But he's looking really good. Definitely someone I'd have in my team in a second. But at the moment, I'm just taking all the average 50 scores in my second row that I currently got. So, anyone else of interest here within? I know we speak about Martin every single week. Everyone's not many people bring him in now, but if you needed to fix the hole in your centre wing, would you bring him in?
Yes.
I probably would. I probably wouldn't have him as my number one trade-in option this week. I'd probably have him behind Mulatalo and Lomax. But I own him. But I'd know that if I didn't have him, I'd definitely be looking to bring him in around about 11 or 12 because they do play two of the major buys and he will play fullback. So you're going to want him. You have to have him. He's probably one of the ones that you must have for those buy rounds. I don't say must have very often, but he definitely is.
I'm just at the point where like I want him to have a few shit games so I can afford him before then.
And that's exactly what I was looking at right now. So he's got a current BE of 66. Their next 6 games, he's got Dragons this week. Then he goes into Broncos, Warriors, Sharks, Raiders, Cowboys in round 13. Obviously, Cowboys in 13 will be missing a few players due to Origin. So, yeah. Dragons, Broncos, Warriors, Sharks, Raiders, Cows for the next 6.
Is Warriors at home?
Warriors are at Allianz Stadium.
No good. So I was hoping it'd be in New Zealand so we get a low score.
Yeah, he's got 3 of the next 6 at Allianz and 2 at Suncorp. They play the Sharks in the away game. So yeah, 3 at Allianz, 2 at Suncorp, and Raiders at GIO.
Money they look like getting him sooner down. It looks like.
Where's
Unfortunately.
the game against the Cowboys at?
That's it, Allianz.
Yeah, wow, and they'll be missing a few Cowboys, and their defense isn't great, and he'll be fullback, so you're definitely gonna. All I can say is you need him for round 13. You have to be that round.
He's either your captain or your vice captain, no matter what.
They could be missing. They could be missing Dearden. They'll be missing
Cotter.
probably Nanai if he gets picked as well. Potentially Drinkwater too if he gets a bench spot for the Blues, maybe.
Cotter
is a big loss for them.
And Talangi will be, and Talangi too. Don't forget Talangi as well. So they'll be decimated.
And Robson, because Robson will be the New South Wales hooker.
No, it's going to be Happy. Happy will be hooker.
Robson will be somewhere. He'll be somewhere.
He might be on the bench.
He's there on the start spot somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. At least I figured out my captain for 5 weeks' time. But
He's
so glad we could help you out there, Dan.
yeah.
I'm glad you're thinking about round 13 buys already, not worrying about round 8.
All right, we better probably hurry up. Holmes as well. Another one in there. Mark in the YouTube group. Holmes has also got, bloody hell, they're going to have the whole reserve grade too.
Oh, that's right. They're going to have Holmes out too. That's right.
All right, guys, let's get on to the next game. So we've got the Storm up against the Rabbitohs. If you've got any Storm players in this one, I'd be all up in this. I reckon this would be a cracking game from some points coming the Storm's way. If you've got a draft, sneaky Warbrick, try and grab him out of the bloody somewhere. There might be some points that way.
No, I grabbed Coates in a few of my drafts for this week in particular. Warbrick might be another one too, but when I saw Coates, I'm like, yep, thank you very much. Because he's going to be marking up against Jacob Gagai, I believe. So he could have a field day. So he's definitely one you want to get. Funny because I've been through a few of my drafts and I picked up Sean Bloor in one of them as well and a couple others. So, yeah.
You're on some shit drafts, man. You're on some terrible drafts with all these freaking guns just lying around the free agency.
I've got drafts with only 4 teams in it. Yeah, there's a draft with only 4 teams. So, but even if you can pick on a serious note, even if you can pick up like a Remus Smith or something like that too.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, a South. I mean, yeah, they get bloody Damien Cook back in the starting side, but then they lose to Tola for 3 months, and obviously lose Tyrell Munro too, and they just don't have the depth this year. Yeah. This score could be anything. So I'm spewing. I don't own any Melbourne players, bar Katoa. So
yeah. I got Harry Grant. And I'm just not. I think there might be a few points his way. There might be a few tries through the middle there.
Hope so.
But I know you've already touched on him. He mentioned his name a few times now. But Jacob Gagai, I haven't had the guts to sell him, so I've still got him in my team. So he waited 2 more games, and I get a price like that of him there. So I don't think he's the worst play this week. Melbourne have a habit of leaking points on the wings. So I don't mind. I'm not going to do it. I haven't got enough balls to do so. But Jacob Gagai could be a sneaky option to play in your starting 17. Thoughts there, Timmy?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he's a bit of a sneaky pod play. I don't know. It's hard. He's I suppose if he's playing at fullback, he's got more chance of scoring. He's going to get his hands on the ball more often. So yeah, look, I don't hate it, but
it's Gagai. Gray's playing fullback. I was talking about Gagai.
Oh, sorry. I thought he was the other way around. But, yeah, look, I don't know. I'll probably like it even less then.
Yeah. I just like I just know that, for example, when we watched we've lost Roscoe, unfortunately. I'm not sure where he's gone. But, yeah, no, I like – because a lot of points get scored on that edge. On the wings against the Storm. They haven't been as defensively sound as they have in the past few years. So I can see a couple of tries going through on that wing, but it'd be all in vain. And it'd be like the equivalent of playing AJ against the Storm. So just a sneaky little idea there. Roscoe, we got your back, mate.
Yeah, sorry about that. Internet kicked me out. I didn't know if it was me, and then I disappeared.
Yeah, I think too much of that granny porn, mate. It's probably getting.
Don't tell everyone his secret.
Listen, it's midget porn. Get it right.
That's it. No, I was just saying, I'm probably going to get hounded for saying this, but I know that Melbourne often have a league in points down their wings, so I can see Gagai being a sneaky play if you've held on to him. I can see a couple of tries potentially going down that way, but it's a risky play. It might be a last resort thing if you need to get a pot up against your head-to-head, maybe. But
I think everyone pretty much sold him for Talangi anyway, and that worked out really well, didn't it?
Oh, I got both of them, mate. I'm sweet. No, I still got him.
Oh, well, you're right then. Yeah.
I didn't see the point. I didn't see the point of selling him. Like, I feel like he would come back eventually, and I was kind of right. But I hadn't a solid enough 24 players that were playing. So.
Yeah, I don't know what JD's doing with this South team, to be honest with you, Dan. I mean, Cook gets dropped, and then he gets back into the team, and he's starting again, and then drops the other hooker back to the bench, and then. You probably got one of the best upcoming back rowers in that team with Tallis Duncan, who can't even get a start on the bench, let alone starting in the team.
Well, what I've seen that he's doing that thing that the coaches do as their last resort. They start axing big name players out of their team to do that whole I'm going to stand up and own this team now. So just don't think you're afraid. Don't think you'll be you're too big to get dropped. And that's what he did. The big name thing, trying to get the team back on side. In saying that, he needs to do it to some of the ones that are the ones who are causing the trouble. And the trouble is the team that is now owned by Cody Walker and Latrell Mitchell. And that's where the issue lies.
Well, that's the problem. Cody's doing nothing this year. And he needs to man up. And when Latrell gets back from his suspension, he needs to say, right, you're going to go in centres, whether you like it or not.
Well, Gray, I like Gray as a little player.
I think Gray's good. Yeah, 100%. He looked good that first game he played. A little pocket rocket.
Mm-hmm. All right. So talking about some other Melbourne players here, other potential options to bring in this week. One of the players I'm actually thinking about bringing in myself is Alicia Katoa. I do like the option of bringing him in. I think he's got. I think Blore there hurts him a little bit. I think because Blore gives him another option on the other side to go that way. Before that, they were all passing to him all the time. So now Blore has that, I guess, the ability to break through the line too. Now that gives Melbourne more options to share the points. But I still like what you'll see out of Katoa. I think he'll be a good option no matter what you get. Thoughts there, Timmy?
I think now with Munster back in the side, I think the ball has the potential to go more towards that left side as well. I don't know, like Hughes likes to play both sides. Munster likes to run all over the shop. So I'm not sure how much difference it really makes in the long run. But I think that's probably got something to do with why Blore has been getting more ball. But yeah, I don't know. It's someone that I like. I just don't have room for it.
Yeah. I'm just thinking I need to get a gun second rower in, I think, this week, and I'm just trying to think of who to get. And there's a few options out there, and knowing my luck from what I've done all year, I'll pick the wrong one. So I'm just
have you got Olakuatu currently?
No, I haven't. And that's what I'm looking at. So I'm looking at I think there's a big four. Got Fafita, Alicia Katoa, Olakuatu, and there was one more that I was looking at someone like Tohu as well. Someone that, but I've already got 3 Warriors players in my team, and I'm a bit hesitant getting any more. So
the other one, very left field, and I know form hasn't been great, but just keep an eye on Jeremiah Nanai and how cheap he's getting. He's obviously a proven gun second rower on his day, and the Cowboys like to go that way a lot, and does have the ability with those bombs as well to pick up the scraps and things like that. He's always in and around the ball, especially when it gets inside the attacking red zone. So, look, keep an eye on him because I think he's somewhere like 480 or something from memory. He's really dropped a whole bucket load of cash. So, if he starts to hit some kind of form, get on him as quickly as you can.
I think problem
is with him, he relies on attacking stats too much. He put out a 80-minute the other day for 30 points on an edge.
Hasn't so much, and I understand that's from this season, but hasn't so much in the past. So I'm not quite sure what's changed up there. But he, he's one of those players, I guess, where some of those attacking stats are part of his game. Like he does score a lot of tries. He does, like some of the stuff in that red zone. It's almost, you wouldn't say it's base stats, but it's getting close to it. It's part of his game, and I think that's the difference. He probably hasn't gone a long time without any attacking stats, and at the moment, that's just the case for him. But I think the Cowboys haven't played their greatest football over the last few weeks either.
Alrighty, let's move on to Seagulls versus Parramatta. I've got Turbo here. I'm potentially looking at him as my captain this week. I know it's pretty early on in the week, but I like the idea of captaining Turbo. But I think, Timmy, you had some thoughts there about the potential for Turbo's score this week due to the time of the game.
I'm really struggling, and I have been since the start of the season with not owning Turbo and just kind of death riding. And he's one of the scariest players in Supercoach to try and death ride because the guy just sneezes and scores 50 points. He's unbelievable. And he's in a lot of games, he doesn't get one try, he gets two, or he gets a try and 2 try assists. And he's on 100 points. He could be on 0 and ends up on 100 points in the space of 10 or 15 minutes. It's crazy. He's the toughest player in the game to watch and not own. And if I had an extra 19.5K, I'll be doing a double upgrade this week of KP to, I think KP and Paps to probably Walsh and Turbo, but I just can't quite make it work.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. I'm happy with Turbo in this game. I know that the nighttime game probably not ideal, but I think Brookvale with a depleted, decimated, you could say the word is, with the Eels. I think Turbo could put on a clinic here. I hate starting the Manly game because I've got the Brooks fan club that usually tune in live. So and I normally have a bit of a tiff and fight with them. I think Brooks. I got to admit something here, guys. The only reason I don't like Brooks is because Panthers haven't beaten him in 651 days. So that's the reason why I don't like Brooks. So that's the only reason Tigers got beaten last week too, Roscoe, because he's in that Brooks.
That's a good random stat, mate. I like that one.
So that was why I put all my money. I put my house on Penrith winning last week, just knowing Brooks wasn't there. So few people there might be happy that I've admitted that, but in saying that, he can get stuffed. Now that Cleary's back, we've got SJ, Hines. It feels like all the halves are back into form now. I feel like, and especially with we mentioned earlier, or we haven't mentioned yet, but Hines actually might get some more points now, which we'll talk about a bit later. But Daly Cherry Evans here. Last week I thought it was an option. This week not so much. I think there's other players available. Roscoe?
Yeah, he was one I was keeping an eye on him. He tends to normally hit some form around Origin time. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, he'll probably score well this game, and so will Luke Brooks because everyone's selling him. But yeah, I definitely don't hate him as an option.
I just personally think there's too many options at the moment now to have him in there. But Timmy?
Yeah.
Certainly around Origin time, especially after Origin, is normally when DCE hits his straps, the second half of the season. After that round 19-20 sort of buy area, it's when you want to bring him in. So, yeah, look, I don't know. I don't think you could go him now with Origin so close, and I understand that a lot of players that we have talked about will play Origin, but I think DCE is one of those ones where, yeah, you probably want to wait till after.
Yeah, this is a bit of a sore spot for me because I lost my major head-to-head final last year, because the guy brought in DCE. So I like the idea of having him at the end where you could potentially play some halfback roulette if you have those spare trades up your belt and your head-to-head matches. But I won't be jumping on this week. I won't be jumping on until I can have the freedom to have having the freedom after Origin to have the halfback roulette is when I'll be mucking around with that option.
Yeah, there's no way you can bring him in this week over like Hines or Cleary. You just can't do it.
Yeah, even like SJ, who's just done really good things. I know we were talking about him before, but there's too many good options there at the moment. So everyone's doing the thing where they're trading up. The Brookses are trading up. Like the who else was there? I had Ben Hunt, for example. They're trading up those middies now to hit those guns, and the guns are I'm sticking to my proven guns, and that's SJ, Cleary, and Hines out of those. So, we spoke about it a little bit last week. Waddell, Roscoe thought about Waddell. Sneaky little option. He's doing some pretty good things there, but I know Burbo is looking like he could come back in round 10. However, in Burbo's last game, he was playing centre with Waddell making way.
Yeah, I don't know too much about. I haven't seen too much of him the last couple of games, to be honest with you. I presume that given that Manly have got all their players back, including Garrick, that most likely Burbo goes back onto that edge. It would definitely be a risk to bring him in. However, I do think if you can get him in draft, if you're playing draft, I think he's a great option in draft. But as for Classic, I just think it's too much of a risk.
Yeah, you probably want to go the other side and get the Hamole Alokwatu. Timmy, I think he's definitely someone you want to get.
Price, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I think though when you look at the price difference, you look at, like, to me, hypothetical. We're talking before about Walsh and CNK. I think the price difference there is not worth it, because I think you'll get similar kind of outputs points wise over the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
This one here, the price difference, I think is completely worth it, because I think that Olukwatu's consistency versus I'd pay. It's like buying a Mercedes and buying a Saab. Ironically, there's a Saab in the team.
Who's actually an option too.
Saab's got a very low break even. I'm pretty sure
he put out a 95 last week too.
Yeah, definitely.
Another one that just doesn't have the floor though.
Oh, exactly. But
what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Garrick as a trade in this week? He's still got a really big BEs, and it's like 154 BE or something crazy.
Not this week.
Yeah, but there's other, and don't get me wrong, it's something that I've thought about as a play a week before everybody else jumps on. Yes, you might lose some cash, but the higher upside of what Garrick can actually score, I don't know, it's a tough one. I've been thinking about it for the last couple of days as a bit of a left field play. Garrick's got the dual centre wing and fullback.
No,
centre wing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think the fullback thing matters really, in my opinion. The centre wing fullback dual means bugger all to me.
No, I thought as a pod play to, like, if you're getting rid of KP, you could go KP to Garrick, but maybe go KP to Garrick by moving Iro down into your, like, if you're going to play Iro anyway, you could put Iro down as your fullback spot and bring Garrick in up in centre wing as a bit of a point of difference to the way other people are running. Like at the moment, I've got Mulatalo, I've got Lomax, and then could have Garrick in there as well with RTS, and sort of shores up centre wing pretty much for the next 10 weeks or so.
I don't mind Garrick as an option once he drops some cash, but the more I think about it, the more I'm not sure, because number one, he most likely doesn't play fullback during Origin because I'll probably put Cooler there. And then you've got to remember they're going to be missing Turbo, they're going to be missing DCE, and they're also going to be missing Olokwadu. So I don't know if I could go there. Maybe if he was playing fullback, but I don't think he will.
I like the thoughts though about going a week early, because one of the things I look at when I look for a pod, I always want to, if he's not owned, why isn't he owned? And then people think, if the only reason is the price, I love that. That's my bread and butter. If people can't afford him, and that's the only reason they don't want to get him in now, I'll jump on in a heartbeat if I can afford him. Yeah. Because that to me is people want him still. So I think that's a really good. I love that option of putting it a week early. I'm pretty sure this is the big thing here. He's up against Morgan Harper. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's what I'll look at right now.
And this is exactly why I'm talking about it and going a week early on him. Especially when we've all got cash. It's different. It's different if you didn't have the cash, but KP's close to 900K or whatever the hell it is, and you can bank some cash by going down to Garrick. So I'll have a look at it. Sorry, I've just got to bring it back up. I just took it off my screen. So Garrick at the moment is 608. So, I mean, yes, he's going to drop some cash potentially. But, I mean, you're not going to get Ruben Garrick for much cheaper. He's 149 BE. So his scores, his last scores against Para, highest score of 199 against Para. So, and he's against Morgan Harbour, and we know how well Morgan Harbour defends. So, yeah, I don't know. And admittedly, he probably got his 199 as fullback, I could imagine, but he goes all right on the outside as well. One to think about.
Yeah. I am thinking about it, that's for sure. I'm thinking of,
you weren't.
I've got about 700k in the bank, so I can literally turn Talangi into him and keep Walsh at fullback. Yeah. All right, let's I'll think about this one for a while now. So, alrighty, let's talk. We've had a pretty good look at Manly. Let's have a look at the decimated Eagles. Gutho running on 4 cylinders at the moment. Probably not even as much at the moment. Poor bugger.
More like 1 cylinder.
Yeah, he's pretty much trying to hold the team up by himself, and full credit to him, but his body isn't letting him do it. I actually had him in my fantasy team, and I've actually sold him because I feel like it's just not fair to own him because he's just doing too much work and he's going to be run down very soon. So,
yeah, I had him in some drafts and got rid of him.
We had a bit of a talk before about Dillbags. If you've held on to him, how much cash has he lost? It'd be a fair bit, surely.
150k.
Yeah, I think I lost about 70 of that before I sold him, but still, that still hurt me enough. I thought I gave him enough chances.
So you must have sold him about the same time as me.
Yeah, I did.
He's priced now at 635. He's got a break even of 51, so he's basically bottomed out. Admittedly, he keeps his high score of 86, which he scored 2 rounds ago, so he keeps that for another week before it drops out. So, yeah, if he gets a lot more than his 51, then obviously there's a chance that maybe he holds or gets some of his cash back. But if he has another low-scoring blowout, then, yeah, who knows? I don't know. I'm at the moment, the way that he's going, I think I'm happy to hold, especially while a lot more people are jumping off. So he was up at nearly 50% or something ownership. He's now down to 20%. So he's, another 3,000 or 4,000 people jump off him, and we're talking pod territory all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, when you're pod scoring fuck all, I've just turned this into a G-rated, an MA-rated episode now. When you're pod scoring fuck all, is he really helping you or is he hurting you? So
his lowest score is 42, though. And don't get me wrong, that's a low score for Dillbags. But in comparison to a lot of other players at the moment, if your lowest score is 42, is he really your biggest problem? I understand you. He's currently sitting at 600K. So you'd like your 600K players to pump out a bit more than 42. But if 42 is your biggest headache at the moment, then you're probably doing all right.
That's the only upside with him. He's got a good base on him.
Yep.
And the fact that he's still working on 2 legs and they're working at the moment with all the injuries we've got in Supercoach at the moment. I think beggars can't be choosers at the moment. As long as he's running fine, that's all that matters. But he's got an up and down draw moving forward, so he obviously plays this week, has a bye next week. And then he's got the Broncos, the Storm, and then Souths, and then the Sharks. Bit rough there. Souths might be okay, but I do not like the other few games. I think he might be a sneaky little one to bring in after the Sharks game, or maybe not even maybe during the Sharks game, because you may have a depleted in round 13, maybe have a depleted Sharks team potentially.
Who would they be missing?
Might get picked. I'm just thinking there's a potential for Hines to be missing.
Well, I don't know if Hines gets picked, to be honest with you. He could, but who else would they be missing? Mulatalo? He'd be the only one.
Didn't he get?
Is he getting picked, Timmy, for Queensland, Mulatalo? Or are they going to be going?
I don't think he was allowed to, were they?
What's his name?
No, it wasn't he one of the ones. Wasn't he one of the ones that we wanted a couple of years ago? And they said no, he's.
Yeah, they wouldn't let you. Yeah,
is that right? Okay.
Yeah. But either way, That'll be in round 13. But then after that, they got the Bulldogs, Roosters, and then the Knights in round 17.
We can't even talk bad
Dan-
about the Bulldogs at the moment because they're actually playing good football.
Dan, you were talking about Tuolangi earlier, or Talagi, Blaze Talagi. I'm guessing you were talking about as flicking him on. What do we think's going to happen there? Is he going to find his way back into the team, or is he going to be like a Jacob Gagai and disappear for 3 weeks and then come back in and maybe stay there for the season? Like I don't know I'm not a big Para fan, and you boys are obviously a bit closer to it down in Sydney. What's the talk about him and his position down there?
I don't. All I know is in my team, I've already got a Gagai. I don't need 2 Gagais in my team. And the fact that he's been playing in certain spots and those positions, you've still got Moses to come back when he does come back. I don't think there's a long term. He can't break the team permanently with the team that they've got. I'm happy to sell and get rid of him. Otherwise, they'll put him on the bench again. They'll play him for bugger all minutes, and he'll be an AE nightmare. Just get rid of him.
Yep, interesting.
I've still got him at the moment, but I'll just hang on to him for now. And unless a cheapie or something comes up, or I've got the cash to upgrade him to a gun, then I'll probably just hang on to him and just use him as a loop if I need to.
I would be happy to do that until he gets picked on the bench. So when he gets picked on the bench, that's when you probably want to sell to get rid of that AE nightmare.
Yeah, which he did the other week, a couple of games ago. He got, but he had like a break even of 5 then, so he wasn't losing any money.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think I went Gagai to him as like it may have even been a boost to try and I don't know. That was 3 weeks ago or whatever it was. So unfortunately that hasn't worked out.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I think that's pretty much wraps.
Penasini's the only other one that I do like out of Para.
Yeah.
I spruiked him right throughout the preseason. I think I started with him in draft, and unfortunately just didn't get the points early on. So, but he's definitely one to watch. The guy's a decent footballer. He's just got to get the ball to him. What did he score? Scored a try last weekend. It looked pretty good.
The only other one as well.
The only other one, Sivo, if he bottoms out a bit more and you can just get him cheap and play him on matchups. If he doesn't get dropped again, he's another one too.
He's one I always look at mid-season when he's got that real nice cheap price. I'll bring him in against those nice little draws, but I'm not sure their draw is going to be pretty average for a while. So
550k and a BE of 45.
Yeah, I'm going him cheaper than that.
I'm pretty sure his last game he got 2 tries, so that's probably potentially why. We're all in agreement though we should probably stay away from that Ethan Sanders after the Talangi fiasco.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
100%.
Too much there. And even if he was to do a good job, we've got 2 more games to pick him up.
Well,
anyway.
I was going to say, when's Moses back? How far away is he still?
I got told it was like initially like 8 weeks, and then I had 12 weeks from the injury.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Right.
I don't think he's coming back anytime soon.
Yeah.
I to be honest, thought that Dejan Arce was unlucky not to get picked in this game. I think actually, was he dropped or has he got a past concussion or something? I think because I think he got a concussion last game, and I think maybe that's why he hasn't been picked. Because I thought he's been pretty good for Paris since he came back in there. He got it like when he looked good the couple weeks ago. That game he played. So.
No, he's named in the 20 jersey, mate. So I think they've just made some shuffles.
Got to try something.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move over. I'll get the little I'm going to get my little banner going because the next game is going to be a fight between you two. So bear with me. So,
there's no fight.
If I just go.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
There we go. All right, so we've got Broncos. Big build up for the Broncos versus the Tigers there. I'll let you guys take the reins on this one, guys. Who do you like? Who do you not like? I'll start with you, Timmy.
There's no need, mate. Broncos will put 50 on the Tigers.
Oh, here we go, Mr. Cocky.
No, I think with most of the troops back, I think we're going to be all right. Obviously, Selwyn Cobbo drops out, having a bit of a rest. He's got a niggle, and Dean Mariner comes back in, so we're obviously not really losing a great deal there. Look, I really like the squad that's been named. What is interesting is Tristan Saylor is back out of the 17. We had this discussion on Sunday night, and we weren't really quite sure what was going to happen there. I think it is interesting because Kevy did say 2 weeks ago when Walsh came out, or whatever it was, 3 weeks ago when Walsh came off the field, and he said, righto, we've got Tristan Saylor sitting there. So I've learnt my mistakes, and from now on I've got to have an outside back on the bench. And all of a sudden he's gone Smoothie and 3 forwards. So I'm not quite sure what the plan is there, whether he look, I don't know, especially when he's got Corey Oates in the run-on side out on the wing. So if anything happens, we're going to be out of outside backs again all of a sudden. So maybe keep an eye on things, see if Tristan Saylor comes back in to the 17 on game day or the night before. Let's wait and see. I'm really glad that Xavier Willison's been kept. I'm a massive fan of his, and I think he needs to be in the 17 each week.
Yeah, no, he's a freak. I think he's a very intimidating person running at you from the bench when you're a bit tired. I like what he's been doing. So
I can see by the end of the season, I think we'll have X and we'll have Big Ben Takura both playing off the bench. And when you could take Payne Haas off for a while and then have 2 big bloppers that are young and fit and firing still come in, it's going to be good come September as long as we stay up there.
There's one thing that, and I hate to always bring it up when Broncos play, but Panthers have had a really good impact players for a long time now from the bench, like their forwards. And that's what this is kind of reminded me of. So, like, for example, we had the Spencer Leniu last year, was always a really good impact player coming off. And before that, when we had different forwards, we had, what's his name? He's now, I'm having a bloody massive drawing of a blank right now, but our current front rower, who was come off the bench all the time.
But they had Scotty Sorensen down there. He was on and off the bench for a while, and obviously Scotty does a really good job so well now that he's made the starting 13 for a lot of last season. So
and that's what I think. You guys have got the best forwards in the comp when they're all fully fit. If you've got that bench with those impact forwards, nothing will stop the Broncos. It's freakish what the forwards are with that. So
next task has got to be keeping them all, mate. That's the next task.
That's it. All right, I'll give you, Roscoe, do a rundown. Probably a very quick one. That was a pretty long one for the Broncos. Probably a quick one because there's not much we talk about here.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously Broncos have got more relevant players. I mean, obviously Haas is going to be one to keep an eye on and probably wait until after Origin for him, and obviously Pia Kura is another one too. But on the Tigers side, we're in trouble this game. I do like the fact that they've moved Bateman to lock and put Fainu on the edge. Fainu's been absolutely killing it off the bench, scoring 50s and 60s off the bench. I really want to bring him in this week, but I don't want to use a boost to do it. I just don't think it's worth it. But I think if he scores well enough this week, he may be one I'll probably bring in next week for someone who I've got a couple of deadwood sitting on my bench that I can probably upgrade him to. But other than that, there's nothing else there. They've got a guy debuting on the wing as well, because Junior Tupu's broken his foot, but I don't think I could go near any other Tigers players other than maybe Fainu. Even Appy's starting to drop a bit too. I think he only got about 35 points on the weekend as well. So Supercoach relevant-wise, there's not much there to like, but I'm definitely got my eye on Fainu to see how he goes.
Yeah,
I'm really keen on. Sorry, Dan. Really keen on Big Steph. He's 600K now, so he's already gone up 100. And also IPAP. I think IPAP's been really good this season. I picked him up in our off-the-bench draft a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't believe my luck when he was just sitting there. So I grabbed him, and he's gone into my starting side every week. Johnny Bateman finally with some form last week. Obviously, he's a really big player of the past from when he was at the Raiders before he went and did his stint back over in England again. But Johnny Bateman bounced back last week with an 87. He's priced at $5.58. And once this finally loads,
Yeah, why are you doing that? I don't think I can go in playing lock though, because he won't play 80 minutes.
One thing I will
Bateman.
say is what's more impressive with Bateman was the fact that he got that score from centre.
Yeah.
No, that's it, and that's the best part. He got moved out.
He earned that lock spot because he was the hardest worker on that field last week, and he was so impressive to watch. He was the only one on that team that I watching the game as a Panthers fan that I was scared of. He was looking dangerous.
I feel for Pole though, because he was doing a pretty good job starting at lock though, I've got to say.
Yeah, I thought he was a safe house,
Yeah.
safest house as Polo. So.
But just on Stefano, I don't know if I could bring him in now just because I think he's going to get a bench spot for Origin.
Yeah,
I think he has
guaranteed.
to. I mean, he's got to be there. I mean, he's probably one of the informed forwards in the comp at the moment, but yeah, he's definitely one to keep an eye on for an upgrade or something at some stage. But last week, for some reason, he didn't get many minutes as he has been either. So I'm not too sure.
I like the idea if that happens, keep an eye on the bench there because you've got that Latu Fainu as well. That could a couple other players there that could potentially take a little spot over the Origin period there.
The only other thing I will say out of this game is I held on to Piakura over the last 4 weeks, which has been a hard hold. But I'm hoping he repays the favour because I think his BE is about 20 and he's priced at 4.14, 4.15, something like that. So I'm hoping he repays the favour. He is a bit of an certainly got attacking flair, and they like to go left off Ezra Mam to him. Obviously, Ezra not playing this week, but hopefully we still use him. Hopefully he repays the favour and gets his 80 minutes and knocks out 60 plus.
One thing I will say actually is Jock Madden can be a bit of a ball hog at times. So I think there might be some trouble there getting the ball out that way. But I think you'll find that A-Ray and Walsh will own that, I think. That's my theory anyway. So.
But just looking at that bench for the Broncos, Timmy, you'd be pretty safe to say that Ricky and Piakura both play 80 because you've got two middle forwards and a hooker.
Yeah.
You've got Willison and Hetherington on the bench, as well as Smoothie. And who was the other one?
Jaden Hunt?
Yeah, was he on the bench?
Fletcher Baker.
I don't think Hunt was on the bench.
Fletcher Baker was. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you got two. So you've essentially got three middles and a hooker.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's move on to next game. Got no one to fight with this one. I should probably invite my mate Will on. But Cowboys up against the Panthers. Big thing to talk about here is having Cleary back. They were ready to play him last week, but they held off. So I'm feeling though he's pretty fresh and ready to play. Pretty confident he will play. But one thing you'll find out we found pretty good is that the Panthers are very good at tight-lipped, and they'll have a very blatant. Someone will ask them a question about something, and they'll blatantly lie, and they hold everything very close to heart. So I don't trust anything that comes out of Panthers camp at all, frankly. But I'm hoping he's good to go. Edwards. A lot of people have considered bringing in Edwards as the replacement. I know that Cleary's back now. Edwards probably doesn't need to do as much, but from memory, Edwards turned up in the first game of the year with Cleary in the team. So, what are your thoughts on that? Bringing Edwards in? He's definitely going to be paying top dollar for him, though. Roscoe?
I like it. I really do. Obviously, the downside is that he's clearly back that he'll lose the goal kicking, but I still think he's a great option. It's just so hard to bring him in with his price. I think between him and another player in this game who's Drinky, who the Cowboys have got a half decent draw coming up, I think they're both good options. But I don't want to be using my cash I've got in the bank to bring Cleary in this week, so I couldn't do it, but. It all depends up the makeup of your team, Dan, to be honest with you as well. Like, I essentially downgraded Hammer to Iro last week to bank 450k to make that Cleary trade so I can trade Hutcho to him. So, but yeah, look, I don't hate it. I think Edwards is a great pot option.
Yeah. And he's definitely doing some pretty good things. I think he's averaging 93 for the season so far, so definitely in top tier level at the moment with the fullback position.
Yeah,
he's played He's played 6 games so far, 3 tons and an 89. Admittedly, his other 2 scores were 56 and 40. So, I mean, 2 of those scores were while Nath was in the team. But, I mean, Panthers look pretty average, to be honest, at the start of the season, and they're starting to look much better now. Look, Isaac Tago could be a bit of a pod play in your centre wing and someone that you could then hold through most of the buys.
Yeah.
Priced at a 684, current BE of 121. So look, he is a bit like Garrick in that he's got a high BE, but if you wait a week, you might be, I don't know. I could see someone like Tungo going really well in this game.
Yeah, especially with Cleary back. I really like the idea of Tungo getting more ball. Like, if you look at his scores, with Cleary in the games, he got a 46 game one against Melbourne, which is expected, you know what I mean? So nothing you can do there. Then you get next game 145, next game 100. Then Cleary goes away, 47, 32, 58. So to me, that's looking like Cleary has a big part in him getting some big points.
Absolutely. The other left field pod play that I'd like to add, I guess I touched on earlier, and Guy won't like me talking about this one, but look, I'm pretty keen on Scotty Sorensen. He's priced at a 620. At 620, he's actually in 0% of teams. Out of the total comp, he's actually only owned by 578 coaches. That's just 578 for a guy that averaged whatever the hell it was last season, 70 odd points or something. He's priced at 620, current BE of 93. So there is a chance he drops a little bit of cash, but maybe in a week's time or 2 weeks, he's probably one to have on your radar as someone that you could hold right throughout the Origin period.
I think a couple of weeks back, Roscoe, I mean, you were talking about this actually. It was had our eye on Sorensen, waiting for him to drop in price.
Yeah,
because we had, and I think he's getting close to that position now. Maybe about 2 weeks, you could be that option. And
definitely.
2 weeks, he's up against the Bulldogs, and I think that'd be a grudge match. No matter how good the Bulldogs are, it's gonna be a grudge match for all the old players playing against each other. So,
well, they draw over the next 6 weeks. They've got the Cows this week, Bunnies next week, Dogs in round 10. Warriors at Suncorp in round 11 for Magic Round. Then they go Sharks and Dragons. So
up and down.
How many of the bye round do they play? 13, 16, or 19? How many of those games do they play?
They play 13, don't play 16 or 19.
Yeah, see. I don't know. I think we're all sleeping on Isaiah Yeo as well, Dan. He just keeps pumping out consistent scores too. I couldn't trade him in now this close to Origin, but
I literally have had him. That was my, instead of Fafita, instead of Lasika trade. And I was a bit nervous with Cleary back if he's going to be the case, but I think I might actually do it.
I like it.
Yeah, I've got no Panthers in my team, so I think I need to have one. And what better one to have than the legend that is Isaiah, the staple. So one of my favourite.
As long as you don't care about him playing Origin, I think he's a bloody great option and a massive pod too. What ownership's he at? He wouldn't even be 5%, would he?
Tell you in 10 seconds. Current ownership, 11%.
Yeah, see? Oh, wow. Is it? I thought it wasn't even expecting to even be that high.
Yep, BE this round of 630 and priced at 750. Sorry, BE of 63, priced at 750.
I say very hard to get that. Break the record to get that BE.
That'll be KP's when he comes back.
So I'm going to make a little amendment from last week. I did talk up a player that I realised after the podcast that he actually is not available in a position that's viable. But I was talking up Tom Chester a little bit. I like him there, but we'll have to wait until he gets that dual position.
He's only available in fullback, isn't he?
Yeah, that was the reason why I said, why is no one talking about him? And I had a big spiel about him. And I was keen on getting him in, and then I realised he was fullback. I literally meant to make my trade at the time, and I was like, oh, why can't I find him anywhere? That's
the other one. The other one I mentioned on our pod that was a bit of a pod play last week was Taruva, but far out then, 74 with 2 tries is pretty average.
That's all he does, mate. He does a couple of hit-ups, but because that's the problem. When you have Toto, Dylan Edwards, and Taruva as your back three doing kick returns, those points, their base is high, but they're still not going to get all the kick returns. They're going to be kick returns divided by 3, mate. So they get more than most wingers in base, but they're still. If it was, just, let's say, I think a prime example was when Nothalumu lost a lot of base a few years back for the Tigers. And then everyone was like, "Why is his base going so low?" Because he was like the best center wing the previous year, and it was because they had Montoya, who also does those big hit ups. In the past, they had some nuffy guy that was skinny and couldn't do hit ups, so Nofo did all the hit ups, and they bring another guy in that can do the same hit ups, and Nofo went down about, I think it was 15, 20 points that season in average. So you got to remember that his base is going to be good, but he's going to score you 40. Probably every week, and we might get a try every now and then, so he gets you to 70. So it's pretty safe.
I'll tell you what, Brian Toto is going to be cheap and cheap come Origin time. I'll obviously bring him in after because he will play Origin, but he hasn't been scoring great either, Dan. I mean, he's normally pretty good, but he hasn't really been doing a lot lately.
He's really lost 71k to start from the start of the season.
Yeah,
he might be a good one to run home with after Origin.
Definitely.
So that's what he does. He does that thing where like I think he benefits a lot from having Cleary in the team. So because he's on the right edge there, I'm pretty sure. So I know Tariva's on the right edge. They swapped over.
Yeah, they swapped, didn't they?
Yeah. So I'm trying to think left edge. That's probably what the issue is. You got Luai forgot how to pass, but uses that left step every single pass.
He's another glue hands.
Yeah, that's it. He does.
That's why I had to sell Taylor May because he just wasn't getting any ball.
That's it. And that potentially could be the reason why Sorensen's actually gone a bit cheaper. Might have discovered our so next year we get Sorensen when you guys can have Luai. So
don't want him, but thanks anyway. But he's better than Jaden Sullivan though.
Anyone else really this game we want to talk about before we move on?
Nah.
Cool. No. All right.
I'd love to have Val, but I don't, and I can't make it work.
Yeah, I got Val on my team, and I was disappointed with him last week, but he managed to get some junk for me in the end.
The one I will mention, Dan, who's going to come back from injury next week is Helam Lukey, who's just signed. I think it's like a 4-year deal with the Cowboys. When he bottoms out in about 3 weeks or so, he's definitely one to keep an eye on too for the run home.
Could be one of those ones you might want to downgrade to.
Sorry, Dan. I hope to God this doesn't bite the Cowboys on the bum. Lukey's had a lot of injuries. Like he's a gun when he's on, and when he can stay fit, he's a really good player. Sadly, we haven't seen enough of him in the NRL yet. But the problem is he's injured, loves a head knock, loves an injury. Yeah, I just hope this doesn't turn into, because they signed him for 4 years, I hope it doesn't turn into bloody Taumalolo. Obviously, it's different cash, but yeah, I don't know. Signing somebody who hasn't played that many games in their first 2 seasons for your club, it's I don't know. It's an interesting one, especially when there's they've let Gajewski go. There was talk of
Finny signed today. He's gone with the Dolphins.
Yeah.
So they've obviously put a lot of eggs in that basket there with Hill and Lukey. So you hope it works for
him.
Yeah. It's a nice little segue into the next game though. So speaking of the Dolphins, so I don't want to talk about this game too much because I sold Bostock last week, which hurt me really badly. So
you didn't read my article, Dan, did you?
No, I'm used to you dribbling shit, so I don't. No, I just thought that I thought Bostock was ripened, and that's what I got out of that. And
who did you trade him to?
I traded him for a cash grab. I got Iro, so it wasn't the worst trade.
Nah, exactly.
But, I made a few of those last week. I made the trade to a player that scored less points, but it wasn't the worst trade. So I feel when you make a few of them in one go, it doesn't look good for your Supercoach team. But yeah, no, I really, really liked what I saw from Bostock last week. I think I didn't really watch the game too heavily. I think I was pretty flat out doing live stuff. But I was watching the score tick over quite profusely. So hoping that means good.
7 tries in like 20 minutes they scored.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was
After
crazy.
after Gutho decided to take a stupid penalty for a shot of goal.
Yeah. Yeah. So I didn't really have a good look at the game. How did Trey Fuller end up turning up?
He looked
Right?
good. He looked good.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't bring him in for Supercoach because he's only available
No.
at fullback. But another one, if you're playing drafts, he's available in a lot of drafts. I would get him in. I think there's a few options. I think Max Plus is a great option this week. I think if you're going to get him, this is the week to get him before he gets out of reach. If you're looking to upgrade, Ethan Strange at 5'8", or even someone at the second row because he's dual, I really like him this week. And the other one's Isaiah Katoa, mate. I dual halfback 5'8". You wouldn't pick him up at halfback. You could at 5'8", but he has been outstanding this season. Like, we all started him last year. He was absolute dog shit. He really was. But this year he's just gone to another level, and he's just been outstanding. His kicking game, honestly, has been top notch. I think
one thing I expected that from Katoa last year, frankly, because he's actually got a very mature head on him for a young fellow. Come from the Panthers, and they didn't want to let him go at Penrith. Obviously, that was a big CEO of Penrith was getting pretty upset about the whole why they keep taking our players away from us. Well, we've got the bloody best youth program in the whole of the league. So but yeah, I think I expect that from him. I think he's very composed. He wanted to get his fundamentals right in year one, and now he's going to step up and get everything right. I think he's going to be one of the greats when he gets more mature. I think he's got the potential to be one of the greats. So, but yeah, I like him. I wasn't too keen on getting him in, but I think I like the idea of potentially getting him in for like a Strange. Definitely a good option there. So across over to the Knights, don't really know this for sure yet because you never know. Team coaches play silly buggers with team lists, but at the moment we've had a two-man race to the fullback position, and it looks like Armstrong has won. Timmy, mate. Not that it really matters, but it's probably going to be fullback only. Is he fullback only, or is he centre wing?
I don't know. I could tell you. I'd imagine he's probably fullback only, but or is he even in the game yet?
Oh, they would have added him by now. He wasn't before.
He's dual, boys. He's dual, so could be a sneaky option.
Lovely.
Yeah.
You'd want to make sure he's the guy that stays there first, though. Like if they have talked it up as a 2-horse race, so it's. I mean, you can imagine he comes in, might play 2 games, look really average, and then they sit him down for a week and give the other guy a crack. Like it's just too hard. He's one of those guys where you'd want to see 3 decent games in a row before you look at bringing him in, or at worst maybe 2 games, and if he kills it, then bring him in as a cash grab type thing. Or alternatively, someone you can bring him in your centre wing, do a downgrade of someone like a Schiller or a Savage or something like that. Some of the Raiders guys that you've had sitting in there. But yeah, I don't know, not one for me just yet.
Definitely keep an eye on him though. I think he's dual. Definitely a good option to downgrade. Now that I've got Tay, for example, I've got Burbo down there now because not there at the moment. But if I make a trade potentially for a second rower, I'll be bringing Burbo down there. I can downgrade Burbo to him. I'm not even playing anyway. Get some more cash if I need to. So
yeah, well, that'll give me a chance to maybe trade Talangi to him potentially as well. So I know it won't give me any cash, but it might give me a little bit. But I'd rather have someone playing than having enough on the bench that I don't need.
Well, if he does play the 2 games and does pretty good and gets out and survives, the next 3 are pretty juicy, mate. Tigers, Gold Coast, Bulldogs. So that's round 10, round 11, and round 13 because they had the buy in round 12.
Obviously, the other one to keep an eye on is Marzu, but obviously he's probably not an option now that you don't have Ponga there. But if Armstrong can get him some decent ball out to that wing, then he will be an option. But otherwise, I don't think you'd go near him. It doesn't matter what price he gets to.
Yeah. I think I was literally thinking about the same thing. I was thinking I want to see how Armstrong plays. If he plays well enough, and not so much for him and for him to be in my team, but more so for what he does for the players around him and the potential Supercoach guns that we do have in that Newcastle Knights team that have that potential. If he complements them well enough, he could be really good at giving the short ball to KPP, for example. So
how good's he been? How good's he been the last few weeks, KPP? I think
been
if you didn't get, you'd have to be livid if you didn't get on him. I reckon.
I've been dying to get a gun second rower for ages. I've had mid ranges all year.
Yeah.
I brought him in just before the price rise, and
Mm.
he's been my gun.
He's been brilliant.
So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. So who else we got really to talk about here? So Plath, we mentioned Plath. I don't mind JMK in this one.
Yeah.
As well.
He's definitely one that I'm keeping in line, especially with they're playing all three major buys too.
Yeah, he's going to be my trade up from Lussick.
Yeah, me too.
So
100%.
I'm just waiting to see when the time is right. So
yeah,
Jermaine Osako is a bit of a sneaky one as well. If you're looking for a bit of a pod play in your centre wing, his BE at the moment's 112 or 115, something like that. I think he's priced at about 650, but if he drops another 50 to 70k, something like that over the next couple of rounds, he'd be a really juicy one to pick up through Origin. Obviously, like Roscoe said, they play the 3 big buy rounds, and he's a Kiwi, so he's not playing Origin. So you could pick him up if he goes on a run or the Dolphins go on a run. You could do a lot worse, and obviously a goal kicker. So and a pretty handy one at that.
No, he's averaging 63, and he's gone under the radar.
Well, I'm surprised that he's averaging
that. Right.
I'm actually surprised he's averaging that high because he hasn't. I don't think he's turned up yet, has he? At all? I'm sure he hasn't.
Yeah, he's got one against the Gold Coast. 106.
Okay, so that's it, right? He hasn't. He hasn't gone. He hasn't gone on a run yet. I want to see him go on a run before I bring him in.
Yeah, that's what's different between the winners and losers, mate. The winners get on them before they go on their run, all right?
And then I go on there and he does a Dom Young and gets suspended for 2 matches.
Yeah, well, I'm looking here right now. Okay, so they've got Newcastle, Cowboys, Manly, West Tigers, and then New Zealand. Besides the Manly one, there's a few good games coming up for him. Potentially could be an option there. And the Manly one is at Suncorp, I think. Pretty sure. Suncorp Stadium, yeah.
I know that they're playing the game this week at Suncorp, isn't it?
Yeah, they're playing this one at Suncorp, and then they're playing against Manly at Suncorp as well. And so they are going on an away trip, pretty much. So they've literally got Suncorp, QBank Stadium. Queensland. That's against Cowboys, and then they got Suncorp, and Suncorp, and then they got Go Media in New Zealand. They're not playing at home for a long time. So
because the Dolphins will have their away game. They'll be like the Broncos. It'll be an away game for the Dolphins at Suncorp for Magic Round.
Josh Kerr's been another one that's been a little interesting too. So.
Yeah, I think he's out of reach at the moment. He's been looking really good.
Yeah.
Even what did he got another massive score last week too? What did he?
He didn't. He had a low score the week before because he only played like 30 odd minutes for some reason. But other than that, he's been pretty consistent. Yeah.
Yeah, he got a 70 last week, so averaging 54 points. So
I just think that obviously the main ones are JMK, like you said, Dan, and Osako.
Yeah. And just quietly, Dylan Lucas is doing some pretty good things out there as well. I think get some good ball at that side every now and then when Hastings makes the right call. I think Hastings' head moves about 1,000 miles an hour, and every now and then he makes the right call. But as soon as I saw the Hastings and Gamble were named last week, I was pretty.
I just don't like it. I think Gamble's just shit. They need to get Cogger back into the team. I don't know what they're doing. Honestly,
100%.
I don't think O'Brien knows what he's doing either, Dan.
Nah, that's it, mate. A few of them don't. Just send us boys in there, us super coaches, mate. We'll show them how to sort it out.
Just don't talk to Robbo about Supercoach and the game plan.
Oh yeah, he doesn't like Supercoach talk. Alrighty, let's go on to the final game of the week, and we've got.
Jeez, we're not there already.
I thought that was the last game. Shit.
How many games you got this round?
We've been going an hour and a half, and we've only talked about 7 games.
I should have known when you and Timmy are on, mate. God, you guys talk a lot.
Hey, let's move.
Tim.
We're gonna be up early tomorrow, guys. It's all for Anzac Day. So
that's right. I'm up at 5 a.m. The alarm's set for 5.
That's it. All right, we'll get through this one quickly so we can go
Yeah.
tuck ourselves in and go to bed. So, Chevy Stewart looking pretty good there. Made a few errors last week, but I think the head on his shoulders is actually any non, I guess, any player that copped all those issues at the start of the game could not come back from that, and he did. He ended up coming back towards the end, pretty strong, much better. I think that just shows the maturity of his young kid. So I think that when he gets that maturity, and that would be nothing but good for his confidence. So I'm hoping to see some good things out of him this week.
Oh man, that hit the Hetherington did on him. Holy shit!
Surprise!
I thought he was gonna have to go for HIA. He absolutely belted him, like he just got him. Oh mate, that had to hurt. That was not gonna tickle, but yeah. I've got like 4 players for Canberra in this game. I'm not playing them all, but interested on your thoughts, guys. I've got Smithies in there at the moment to play him because I think he'll go back to his minutes this week. But would you play Strange, Savage, or Schiller in this game?
Mate, I've got the same issue. I've got Smithies, Schiller, and Savage. Not Savage, sorry, Strange. And I am not really sold on playing any of them, but I've got all these little fringe players in my team that I could potentially play, like say a Finifawake, and I'm just a bit not sold on them. Like Smithies, he's been in and out of my team. I think Smithies is the safest play. He probably get to a safe 50. Strange, I don't know because he gets a lot of his points from line breaks and line break assists, running and putting the palm on. So I don't think he's going to do that against the Sharks.
I just think too that with Weeks being there and he should be the main playmaker now. I just don't know whether to play him or not. I mean, it's either play him or Galvin because obviously they're both in my 5'8".
Yeah.
And then obviously I'm expecting Canberra to bounce back here. I'm not saying they're going to win, but I just think at home I don't see them getting flogged this game.
Yeah, honestly, I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking about Galvin or Strange, and I leant towards Strange. I'm just not sold myself. But yeah, Timmy?
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing this week is going to be the Raiders have had all their quality plays gone through the movement of their forwards. Forwards have obviously made the meters, and then the back line obviously has been scoring all the points from that. That was a bit of a flip on its head last week in the rain. Admittedly, it was a wet game here in Brisbane, and our forwards just steamrolled them, which was quite interesting. What's going to be the most interesting point in this round is obviously the Sharks have got their forward pack back. So they've been decimated with forwards for the last 3 or 4 weeks and still been chalking up some points. So, look, I think this is probably the best forward pack that the Sharks can put out this round. At which point it will be a bit of a dogfight there in the middle up front. So it is going to be interesting. We'll wait and see what happens there.
I think it's going to be more of a forward battle than anything else this game.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think that's what's going to be the interesting part as to whether or not the Sharks forwards really are all fit, or whether they've brought them back early because they know how much firepower the forward pack from the Raiders have got, especially after having a big loss last week.
She's not been impressed with Hazelton. That bloke's just a beast.
Hasn't he just?
He reminds me of the old footy players, like the old school footy players.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me like a Nate Miles or something like that, Dan, you know?
I was going back further than that. I was going about Hero.
Bit of a step last week to score his try too. Like
he's got footwork, mate. He's got footwork on him. He's got a few line breaks in his short career.
I had him in my off the bench draft actually, Tim, and I was stoked when he scored that try. He went to 64 from nothing, and then they took him off for his break, and he never came back on because they were winning so easy. He didn't need to.
Yeah, you would have picked him up. I put him in the waivers last week or the week before, so because he hadn't done a great deal before that. So
that got me the win. That got me the win against Guy. So that's more important.
So we'll go over the Sharks. We'll look at the halves there. I think Hines now I think there's going to be less points going to a certain person, because he's no longer going to be even stood down for a few things. I thought it was just a DUI, but there was a few other things involved there actually.
Suspended license.
Something else maybe.
Maybe something else.
Yep.
Certainly under the influence from the sounds of things.
So just celebrating taking all of Hines' points, and then that just kind of really, I reckon he did nothing wrong. I reckon Hines has set him up.
I tell you what. So we're probably going to get to VCs and Cs at the end. I'm sure we will, but I think Hines is the best captaincy option this round by far.
I like
what
when
scares me most, because I brought in SJ again for this round and last week, and the whole idea was the early game and put the VC on him. But after Nico going so well last week, and now with Tricky Trindle out of the squad, it's got to be really hard for me to VC SJ this week. So yeah, it might be a sneaky one on Lomax, like we talked about earlier.
Like it. Yeah, so one thing I will say is that you mentioned before about the forwards being kind of rested, and like, are they bringing them back too early? Are they like they've been holding back these forwards for a long time, and they've named them a few times, and they've pulled them back out last minute because they just weren't sure. They've been very cautious on their forwards. I reckon if they're going to be named, they'll be ready. They haven't needed to rush them back. Their benchies and their backup forwards have been doing a fantastic job for them as it is. They haven't needed to, so I reckon if they're back, they're ready to go.
And they've got so much
depth. That about KP too.
Yeah, and they've got so much depth there. And to that, Tapua, I think his name is. He was had some bench spots while they were missing a few of their players, but he's been outstanding. But then you get Ueli back, and the bloke's just a beast. And yeah, obviously Finucane retiring, which is obviously sad news. You know, he's had a great career for a few clubs, including Origin and that too. So, but they've just got so much depth there. Their pack, I really like their pack. Haven't they got Rudolph still got to come back too, hasn't he?
No, he's on the 16.
He's on the bench.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, so they've got some pretty solid forwards there.
Nice.
I know it's always hard to say, but there's always a blessing in disguise when you have like a mass injury session. You end up building your team better because they had to become more, they adapt and get more depth. And you look at players like Hazelton and Oregon Kaufusi, they've done, like, NRL wise, they've done their job enough. So now that they are NRL ready, they can be that backup, and they'll have a solid bench. So. Alrighty. One last thing before I say, I'm not sure. We'll keep an eye on the news on Trindle, so we'll see how it goes, and potentially Daniel Atkinson might get a more long-term spot depending on how they go with their inquiries.
Where's he available at?
Mate, I have no idea. I didn't even think to look. So
the only other one I'd look at, boys, bit of a pod play. Sorry, the only other one I'd look at would be a bit of a pod play with Britton Nikora. He's priced at $5.84, a break even of 80. Obviously, a bit of a fallen gun from last year, so he's one I'll be keeping my eye on. With a BRE of 80, if he drops a little bit more this week, it's down to sort of 550K. He's only played 4 games this year with 2 scores above 50. That was an absolute rarity this time last season, so. Look, their games over the next 6 weeks, they've got Raiders this week, St. George next week. Then they go into Melbourne, Roosters, Panthers, Para in 13. So some tough teams there, but obviously he's a point-scoring forward. So, yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on there.
Yeah, I think even their backline, they're all good options too. Like Katoa as well is another one as well. You could definitely bring in as well.
Coming back after 2 weeks suspension, he's got a bit of a point to prove.
1
week suspension, sorry.
Just 1, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just looking here as well. So they play 13 and 19, the Sharks. So I think ideally you'd want to have it could be a good pickup there to get Nikora for that buy period there as well. So I think with Hines delivering the ball to him and no Trindle, I think that might get more ball to him. So, all right, that's enough, guys. All the yawns are happening now. We've been going on this almost 2 hours now, so let's get to it. So, we'll talk about trades first, guys. Timmy, trades, mate. What are we looking at?
Oh, the KP's got to go, and it'll be Walsh or CNK, or I do something crazy and bring Iro down to fullback and bring in a pod played centre wing. At this stage, I got no idea about a second trade. It'll depend on SJ's fitness as to whether I go to Cleary or I got 400k in the bank, so I could upgrade a second rower or something like that. So we'll wait and see.
Roscoe, mate, how are we looking?
Plain Jane for me. KP to Walsh and Drew Hutchinson to Cleary.
Good trades.
Very, very nice. Yeah, for me, I'm in the similar boat where I've got Johnson and Hines, so I don't know if I want to get Cleary this week. I think I might want to hold off. But I think we'll be playing the news carefully before that game and see what happens with SJ. I am just doing plain and simple. I'm going KP to Walsh, and I've got about 700k in the bank, so I can potentially upgrade someone to get. I have no idea who yet. I'm looking at potentially a Fafita, a few other options here in the second row, and then I could also do something stupid and get like an Osako and hopefully get that big ceiling center wing that could potentially help me out as well. So I'm not going to lock in any decisions besides that Walsh one. Captain, vice captain, we'll go back to you, Timmy, mate. We're looking at.
Yeah, like I said earlier, ideally SJ, but if not, it might be Lomax into Nico.
Like it. Roscoe, mate, what are you looking at?
Turbo into Nico.
Yeah, at the moment I've locked in SJ to Turbo, but I'm potentially going to look at that Nico option. I think that might be the better option, but I have Turbo as my BC. But I've also got other players I can potentially get in as well. Like I look at BC, someone earlier, like a DWZ as well. Another one that could be a sneaky little option to BC.
I like it.
So honestly, I feel like I've got to throw. I haven't hit a BC all year, so I may as well just have some fun with it and try and get a random one rather than someone everyone else is doing. So
I had 2 VCs in the first 4 rounds, or it might have been 2 VCs in the first 3 rounds, and that's what rocketed me up to 7k pretty quickly. But unfortunately, I missed. I've had 2 crap ones, and they've really hurt me.
Yeah, so important captain choices are. So
Yeah, just don't pick Liam Henry. Yeah. You know you're not going to leave that down, don't you?
Yeah.
No.
Broncos, they're awesome. Love Broncos.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. Before we head off, I'll say thank you to the guys from Off the Bench. Always here to help out the Tragics boys whenever we need to. So I'll try to do my best and repay the favour whatever needed. So thank you very much. Tune into their podcast on every Sunday and Tuesday. Am I correct, boys?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So the end of round wrap up, and then the obviously TLT podcast. Jump in, tune into them, guys. Some pretty probably not 2 hours worth, but it's definitely probably.
Must be your fault, Dad, because ours are never 2 hours.
No, it's not my fault. I haven't said a word. You guys have been talking the whole time. No, all good. I don't really care. I haven't got a structure at all, so it's definitely my fault. All right, boys. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week. Hope you see some green arrows. Peace.
Enjoy your insect day.